Welcome to Frost World Problems number 5. Tonight we've got NIXI KILLICK.
Hey!
And we've got FROSK.
Hello.
And our special guest is James Dodd.
Hey.
So James, when did you get in town?
On a Thursday, like about 4 days ago now. I've been busy painting and making stuff in the studio at Backwards Gallery.
What exactly are you doing here in
I've brought
Melbourne?
with me a machine, this odd contraption that I've made, which is cobbled together from a bicycle, a skateboard, a scooter. There's some crutches in there, a range of cordless drills, and also it's controlled via a remote control handset that you might have for your favorite boat, aeroplane, helicopter, whatever.
So I would describe you as the mad scientist of Australian art. Would you say that's a fair description?
I'll take that description. Now, I'd argue there's some madder than me, but I'm happy to be in the mad scientist gang.
And so the exhibition you're doing, it's called Kludger.
Yes.
What on earth is a kludger?
The term kludge comes from it's an engineering idea, both like physical engineering and also digital engineering. When you fix a problem in a really ramshackle manner, in the quickest way, in often a very shit manner that isn't sustainable, but just jamming things together to make it work. And that is what I embrace to make my machines.
Awesome.
So I've known you for a while now. You had a background in more traditional painting, and I know you've always tried to use different elements to make your work. It seems like engineering is now a big part of your work.
Yeah, well, I've always been a bike nerd, right? But also what I've come to realise over time is that it's my experience having grown up on a farm where things are often broken and often being repaired, or often not quite working because they've been repaired in a half-assed manner. That whole childhood spent around that is what brings me to the point of embracing this sort of thing now. And actually, beyond what you see in the gallery, some of the more conceptual or social things I'm interested in is celebrating people fixing things or modifying things or adjusting things. People doing things in sheds. That's all of the cultures that I really embrace and love and want to try and tap into with what I'm making.
Yeah, I love this idea of hijacking materials and machinery from other fields, creating your own artwork, utilizing tools that are not necessarily meant for you. I think that's a really amazing and dangerous idea.
Or maybe it's also like my place is in a shed and I have all this stuff in my shed, and it's like usually we just use our cordless drill to put screws in the wall. A bit boring, you know, when you could plug in some brushes, for example, and knock out a couple of paintings. But also, like for me, it's using things which are familiar, you know, that people have this stuff, they see this stuff all the time, so that they have a relationship with it, they have a history with it. And I often find when people are looking at my work, they're telling me stories about how they've got this thing or that thing, or if kids see my work, I'd love them to go home and go, "Oh, Mum, can we pull apart the microwave and put the dog in it," or something like that. Make some art.
Crazed.
So you're from Adelaide, which lends itself very well to bicycling.
It does. And I grew up with bikes all the time. And then as an adult, I've worked in bike shops forever to support my art habit. So that I've always been around it. And to the point where I've sort of mucked around making bikes, making freak bikes, you know, very strange bicycles to ride around. And the process of making bikes involves what we call machine tools. Like most people know what a lathe is, you know, it spins metal around, and also often a mill, which is what my machine is based upon.
Well, do we have some footage here we could have a look at? What year was this? 2015?
2015, so 4 years ago now. This is the first version of this thing, this sort of contraption, and I've been thinking about these machine tools that I'd seen used and I was beginning to use myself, and wondered whether that as an artist I can make a machine that could help me, or be part of my practice, be the tool that I use.
So in a way, is that outsourcing your cognition?
Not outsourcing, but extending it. Right. So I guess so we talked a little bit earlier about the idea of seeing robot-driven art, like we're seeing murals now painted by drones, which is a curious thing, right? And the drone is a new thing for us as people, and we're curious about our relationship with it. But there's this longer histories of how robots fit, or what robots might be. They still don't really do much for us, but we like to project upon what they can do. And people like Asimov and Dick, Philip K. Dick, write great stuff about it. So this is love one. Love it. So you can see here, this is the start of having some dual motors and having a machine that can drive a drill around with a brush attached to it over a flat surface, and the flat surface is where the canvas goes and where the paint goes on the canvas, and these rotating heads of different shaped brushes pass across the surface in order to make the outcome. Of course, the process of making it is fascinating for lots of people as well, and I invite people to come and see the process.
Yeah, it's like a performance.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
yeah. I call it soft performance. It's perhaps my preferred term.
Hey, there goes the camera.
Hey! Nice.
All right, so you've come a long way. You've done a lot of different incarnations of a very similar idea. I think I was asking you today about this idea of a mill.
Yeah.
It's interesting to take art away from this idea of gestural and hand mark making into something more machine orientated and calling it a mill.
The mill, I guess, is an old word. Mill is basically anything that rotates, like a windmill or a flour mill.
Yeah.
You know, they've got the many flour mills are water powered, so it's basically anything that rotates.
Yep.
Which is the same with a milling machine. It spins around and it cuts stuff. But I think that having a machine that engages part of a creative act is not a new idea necessarily, but we're always toying with it, you know. And I think that there's a great discussion. It's sort of a cerebral cloud within which to play, which is about that moment between can a robot, can a machine actually be creative, or is it only ever an extension of the creative person?
Yeah, and looking at the machinery or the apparatus, looking into the alternate possibles of that function, or what it can actually do. But then, you know, what are the realms of that? What else can it do?
That's right, and the fact that we kind of go, if you tell someone, oh, we're going to make art with machines now, they go, fuck no, it's got to be the man, the person, not the man, but the human making the art, right? But actually, we use machines all day, every day. We've got all these phones filming us here tonight. We know we are actually rarely untethered from machines. So that I think it's a great opportunity to start to invite machines closer to the creative process and remind ourselves that this is an interface.
Yeah, didn't William Gibson say that the future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed?
Yes, it's true. That's a good one.
But you could distribute it well with these brushes.
Totally.
And in circular motions.
I could make it very soft. Soft future.
Does your wife have any? Is there any of this technique in your dishwashing skills?
No. We recently got a dishwasher, which is a great machine we've invited into our life. It's awesome. It's really great.
And you took it apart and put paintbrushes on it?
No, leave that one well alone. My place is in the shed.
Although you could put clean brushes on your device and put all the plates like this and just go along and wash them all.
I could also make I could open the dishes. I could open the evening with making the food.
Totally.
In the machine as well.
I think it lends itself to a good collaboration with an Italian restaurant and bolognese sauce, you know, in some kind of elaborate gestural
No, I think maybe
presentation.
a fork with the curling up of the spaghetti. That could be
Nice. Italy's calling.
Or maybe just the staring at the pot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I guess those machines already exist, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These things are, you know, we don't often see them in a gallery. And like people will always come at me, like today, this lady came to the gallery, she was really lovely, her and her husband, they were hanging out and they were happy to watch the process and wanted to chat and stuff. And the lady's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Why haven't you been on TV? I said, I'm going to be on TV tonight. Frost my problems.
Hey.
But, you know, she's also like, I've never seen anyone do this. And, you know, there is a long history actually of artists who've embraced the machine in the creative process and in their outcomes, and obviously that's projected onto their audience. And what I'm making now is just an extension of where I fit and my experience, and trying to make my contribution to that broader field of stuff.
Cool. Well, on that note, how about we cross to NIXI for the news?
Right, in news this week, we have rise of the deep fakes. So deepfake is a technique for human image synthesis based on AI. It's used to combine and superimpose existing videos onto source videos using a machine learning technique. So deepfakes have been used to create fake news and celebrity hoaxes. You might have seen the Obama video on YouTube. We have it pulled up now. The first
Me say things like,
little snippet of it's quite interesting.
I don't know, Killmonger was right, or Ben Carson is in the sunken place, or how about this? Simply, President Trump is a total and complete dipshit.
Right. So on that note, the development of deepfakes is mostly in two camps: academic research and amateurs on the internet,
Wait a minute.
such
Is
as
that
Reddit.
is that Obama?
No, it
Who
is
it?
not.
Trump.
Who knows? It's a questionable question.
Well, hang on. What's going on here? What's happening?
So,
How fake is it?
so this is using that imaging synthesis technique. So it's facial recognition that's captured a lot of different expressions, and then cobbling that together to then allow it to look exactly like that person.
So it's a bit like an augmented fake.
It is, yeah, totally. So it's been criticised for, if you think about in the future, it can be abused, and it can also really affect credibility and authenticity of media in so many different realms. But also, sort of the update that's happening now on these deep fakes is we've got Instagram fakes. So there's these two main people, Lil Miguela and Shudu. Lil Miguela is, I'm sure it's probably said in a more fabulous way. She's a 19-year-old Brazilian-American model, music artist and influencer with over 1 million Instagram followers, but she's completely computer-generated. She's an avatar from an LA company.
Oh.
So there's been a lot of discussion about this, and she's got all these avid fans, and
How many
everyone's loving
followers?
her.
How many followers? 1.6
Like
million.
6.
Yeah, she's really
Wait, how
engaging,
did she get
and
the
she's
star? She's not real. I mean, the tick.
well, she's authentically
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
It's a. I saw a documentary about this. I don't know if it was this one. It was the other model.
Was
These
this
two
the
in particular,
documentary?
yeah.
No, but no. It was the other African American model. But
Yeah, so
Suzu,
she was employed by Coachella, I think, to interview a lot of the main stage actors,
right.
the main stage rappers that were playing.
That little way.
Yeah, so
But she appears in 3 dimensions.
yeah,
so-
she's been sort of authenticized through the media, but
Right.
she actually is not real. She's a virtual entity.
Right.
And so that really brings up a lot of issues surrounding identity and authenticity of platforms and things like that, I guess, for celebrity. But more importantly, I think the Shudu character, she's a dark-skinned model avatar, but she's created by a man, a white 28-year-old man called Wilson. And there's a lot of controversy over this because, is he utilizing the platform of a marginalized woman with dark skin to push his agenda? There's a lot of discussion online about that in the realm of deep fakes. So considering that you collaborate with machines to make your art,
Right.
do you think deep fakes could be considered performance art?
Sure, they're an extension of a person, but I think that also these deep fakes that you've just talked about, NIXI, are really very complex and
totally.
advanced, and I probably wouldn't put my own current undertakings in that same social depth of they're fantastic though. I mean, I guess it does tap into lots of discussions about robots, I guess, and the
definitely.
future, and like you say, identity and how this all fits together.
Well, the role of, the role of identifying a machine or technology, I think it's interesting in comparison to your work, the idea of creating a machine that's potentially doesn't have a title. It's not, maybe this is on a different platform. This is another.
Or maybe what the parallel might be is a sense of the remoteness from the reality is what maybe, or the remoteness from the human.
Yeah.
We're saying this is something that we believe in as being a real outcome. Likewise, I might make a painting. People know that it's made by a person, but there is a remoteness. There's a distance.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Well, but what's the difference between this and a cartoon? It's just because it's real.
well, what's the difference between this and a puppet on Sesame Street?
Wow,
that
Sesame
is
Street's got a
real.
bigger audience.
But I mean, like cartoon, like someone made The Simpsons, and then he can put his views into The Simpsons.
I guess it's
And the same
disconcerting
thing,
because it's so familiar.
Well, the point is,
Yeah,
I guess,
that's
is
what's
the
scary. It looks so
acceptance
real.
that. Well, I guess it's a great analogy, the Sesame Street one, because Elmo is a character which has a life
Totally.
and people believe in Elmo. People should believe in Elmo, right?
Even Elmo!
But also, I guess at many points, what we're saying is people
Yeah.
don't know, people don't realise that this is a facsimile.
But people do as well, and they believe in, this woman as much as they believe in Elmo.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The real difference is that Elmo has a fist in his ass.
And he is tickled often. I'm pretty sure
At the same time.
look like they're very tickled.
Right. Well,
It's almost there's a lot of discussion in the media and socially about transgenderism. This is transhumanism. I think this is quite liberating, and I think could end this level of decisiveness between different camps, because it's like if this could be your avatar, and I could decide as a white man to be a black woman, and if that's what I really wanted to do, I could contribute that in the virtual world. It's almost as if this whole level of transhumanism is now
could be liberating.
starting to take over, and it's like a liberating.
Totally.
What was that late 90s Second World? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was about
The Sims as well.
Yeah. Similar
Yeah.
sense of like avatars, and that was
Definitely.
a wave of actuation which stalled or petered out. I guess this is a new version of it. But I guess the question we all ask is like, what is the motivation for whoever is behind the avatar? And we see it looks like Miguel, is it the first one?
Well,
She seems to be driven by corporations at many points.
a brand orientated.
Yeah, I mean,
But I guess this is where I think, have the choice in terms of embracing technology going forward to become techno-optimists and be able to shine a positive light on this instead of tearing it down.
yes,
It's
right.
this is an interesting development, and I think, who's to say this is not art?
Great.
This is an
Yeah,
interesting
it
creative
is.
outlet that is new.
Yeah, it is totally. I mean, and more successful than art because it reaches a much broader audience than artists often can.
It's a new realm.
And look, and now scrolling through this Miguel content here, do I say she? She is her persona, her projection
totally.
is often playing across.
Yeah,
this
and it's very
interface.
holistic. It's not, putting one foot forward. She's really created a full realm and life and universe. But speaking of realms and the universe, Dark Mofo highlights, which recently happened down in Tassie, sounded very exciting. Unfortunately, we didn't make it down, but some friends did. So Jimmy Corti did an epic installation called Aftermath Dislocation Principle, where you would peer through bullet holes in the side of a shipping container to see a miniature scale model of the aftermath of a riot in small town Britain. So this is from the guy who also did an installation at Dismaland, but we know him best as one half of the duo KLF. He's also known as the man who burnt $1 million. So,
Pounds.
£1 million, truth. So, what would you do with £1 million in the name of art?
If only I could burn it. If only I could make music like KLF. What is
Yeah.
it? 3 big hits
3
to last
AM,
forever.
Eternal.
So true.
Totes, yeah. What would you do with it?
I don't know, man. Like, I've been
Sure,
busting
you
my
could
hump
build
for a
the
long
machine
time. I
out.
would just like to chill for you. I might take a little holiday for
No,
a start.
it's in the name of art. You can't use it for pleasure.
I can't.
You have to turn it
I'll
into
try and
artwork.
think of some art project
Yeah.
which was
Surely.
indulgent for myself, like most of the rest of my practice.
Yeah, you could make some sort of brushes out of the
big
flapping
machine,
notes
a
or
big
A
something.
machine the size
Yeah.
of a building.
Yeah,
For sure.
But look, for ages I've been wanting to make a vertical one. I've got a couple of plans. It's probably going to take me a number of months to develop that and unleash it.
That's what I was saying, the drone before.
Yeah.
So I was like, imagine if it was going up a wall as well, but it'd be very hard.
Yeah.
Well,
But so worth it.
yeah, that's right. It doesn't have to be big at the start. Small at the
Yeah,
start.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then we did also
evolution.
talk today about next level flat outside, not just on a canvas, is that I'd like to get a ride-on lawnmower and attach some
Yeah.
paintbrushes to it and tip the paint out the front and make some massive squiggly paintings.
Yeah, some big trails. That'd
So I
be
might
great.
spend £1 million on making a big painting
Yeah.
that you can see from space.
Make it so. So also recently we've had the Glastonbury Festival, which had quite a few art highlights. There's a lot of crazy murals and epic things like that by the likes of Deface and Macatron's over there, which is fun. But people are freaking out about the fact that Banksy was revealed earlier this week to have designed the Union Jack stab-proof vest that Stormzy wore in his huge headline set. If you were going to paint onto a bulletproof vest, who would you paint on it for? Hero? Villain?
Maybe I'd make a fake vest
There you go.
for our friend Donald.
There you go.
Donald Duck.
Hey.
And a steel.
He's my friend. Donald Duck's my friend.
Donald Judd.
Donald Trump
right.
Duck.
Donald Trump.
Oh, serving Donald.
Oh, don't swear in this room, guys. Bloody hell.
President Trump is a total and complete dipshit.
But the most important piece of news this week, we all know, is Jimmy Dodd is having an art exhibition and is doing a residency at Backwards Gallery called Kludger. But what I want to know is, when does it open to the public?
It opens on Friday, the 12th of July.
Right.
Yeah.
And people can come in and watch you.
People can come in prior to that, yeah.
Right.
So we are now at about the 2nd of July. I don't know when this will actually get released, but this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in the week prior to the 12th, the invitation is for people to come and see the process in action. And we've made some comfy seating for people to relax and just chill for a little while and watch the process, because this contraption that I made, people love seeing it in action, and I've got to make a show. And the whole project has been about coming for a set period of time and making what I can do, sort of smashing it out in this time and seeing what is possible. So I'll be busy painting.
Frenzied.
I'll be frenzied.
Totally.
Frenzied.
Yeah, well, we actually went in today and visited the gallery.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Look at that.
My little feet.
Hey, look at his little feet. What a great studio space to have in the heart of Collingwood.
Yeah.
I mean,
great.
it's a phenomenal venue just to be able to get in and amongst it.
Well, look, I feel really stoked to work with Backwards as well. Of course, I have a background in making things publicly and outside, and that I guess that all relates to my sense of democratic creativity, which is for everyone, or for a broad audience. And Backwards certainly works with lots of artists who work publicly, or street-oriented artists, and so I feel very at home there. I feel connected with my peers to be there.
You very much look like you have made it your home. It's great seeing, you've been there, you've sort of started to nestle into it.
Yes.
Are you sleeping under that table?
No.
Not yet.
Al Stark, one of the most recent artists,
We went to the show.
did do some sleeping at the studio.
right.
He was sleeping at the opening. What are you talking about? No.
No, and they're big days though. I'm there all the time, and look, I am making a nest, right? And this is a really indulgent nest for me. I have a busy life. I've got a young family, and often I don't get to make as much as I would like to. And this period of time is a time for me to just go for it and make all the time, flat out, as much as I can.
It's great.
And I've brought lots of stuff. I've got. I guess I've got to make a show, and I will make a show, right? And I'd like to make a big fat show, but I can't. It will also be whatever. The point we arrive at is the finishing point.
Definitely. But the thing about a residency, I think, is for an artist, it is a really amazing and unique total saturation.
That's right. Yes.
It's a beautiful time.
Yes.
For making a show.
I just noticed you've got crutches there on that one. I didn't notice that when I was there. Quite an inventive use of found objects.
Well, in sculpture land, we would talk about them as a support.
So you built everything?
Yeah, well, I've cobbled everything together so that it's important that all of the components are also, they're found things that are otherwise used for other purposes.
And I saw inside these Tupperware containers, there's lots of electronics going on in there.
Some bits and pieces, they're all borrowed from radio-controlled land, so enthusiasts who make model boats or aeroplanes or tanks or whatever.
So they go into the controller.
That's right, yeah. And then rather than controlling a motor for a small vehicle, they control some cordless drills.
Yeah.
Have you ever had one that sort of seems haunted and just goes off in a mind of its own, like you're starting this next level of painting AI?
No.
This is the painting singularity.
Not quite, but I do invite the machines to have a sense of their own, like, a mind of their own. Is in that they're not super precise. They have all these nuances. They're all wacky and wobbly, and that as much as you try, you're getting in the zone. You're like, I've got to get the orange to go over here. It's going to be just like this, and then the machine just goes and just kills all the shit you just made. And you're like, fuck, I've been having some real Tourette's moments in there, but that's part of my process. It's like, okay, that's what I'm embracing.
Well, the beauty is
Trying
the
to control the
unpredictability and spontaneity of it all. I mean, it's quite.
Yeah, well, look, another thing we haven't touched upon is that I guess there's lots of preparation. There's lots of layers, so that the actual finished object, some people come to them and they feel like they're very quick to make. They're like, you can just go to a machine to make this. It's too easy. You're not a real artist. It's not real art, man. And I guess what I offer as a counter to that commentary is that we often celebrate short moments of time when it comes to action sports, such as skateboarding or surfing or whatever, where that short moment is what is celebrated because it needs to be nailed at that point. Totally. And that's what I'm practicing as well. I can do things quickly, but it's because I've practiced and practiced, and I don't present the shit which didn't work. You see the final one, which I feel nailed it as much as possible.
Definitely. But also just the nature of building an unknown beast. You know, that lends itself to dead ends and, trial runs and evolution by design and, in a lot of senses.
You said you've got young kids. What do they think of this insanity?
Oh, they love it. Yeah, they talk about daddy's machines.
Yeah.
And my two little girls have got a little remote control car, which they often play with in the shed, and they get to play with all the bits. And look, I'd recommend a great person I look to who fits between art and other culture and robot stuff is a lady called Simone Giertz. We might maybe bring up some stuff in post to show. But she's the queen of shitty robots is her title.
Oh, she does a YouTube channel?
Yeah, she's amazing.
She had a brain tumor?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Wow.
Go.
Yeah.
I'm helping.
Sorry, what was her name?
Simone, Simone.
I think there's something really beautiful though about
Gier.
merging low tech with high tech.
Yeah.
Like with the hand with, there's something about that kind of the resolution of something in a way that still carries the cobbled togetherness of it all. There's something really beautiful about that, and identifying those little household items and going, that's when you look at it, it's this elaborate, really sophisticated machine, and you can start to identify things and go, and it becomes more of a humanized thing. Or
well, I think we've got these spectrums of technology, right? And I think that in one sense we have a phone that we all know and love and deeply connected to. But the technology in here is hardcore. There's actually less technology than is in your phone that was used to get the first person to the moon. Right?
Yeah.
Great analogy.
Totally.
But that it's also baffling for people to go, you should get into technology or think about technology when it's like, it's like, oh my God, it is overwhelming. But actually my place that I like to play is like this thing of like, what about if you just changed stuff around you or adapted something? It's a sense of adaptation that I celebrate.
Totally. Yeah.
So she has a bit of comedy within what she does. From memory, the machines don't quite work.
The breakfast machine, the soup robots, the one.
Yeah.
They're all great.
Yeah.
And look, I guess I invite that as well. I make these contraptions that are really quite silly, and people like. It's about the connection, the human connection.
Well, she is making a statement about perhaps the banality and silliness of that connection, but you're making a deeper connection.
I don't know.
Like she's a bit more absurd.
It feels like more of a performance art piece, perhaps.
She is, but she's a great example, I think, Simone, of play and technology. And I think that, I share that position. I'd like to think. I'd love to go and hang out and work with Simone for a week.
Yeah.
She's just good fun.
Totally.
And that's all the artists as well. Like, you got into it because you wanted to experiment and create something to play and have fun.
Yeah, that's right. I think that science and art occupies a parallel space whereby those participants, those people that do it, they want to be in a place where you don't know what's going to happen.
Totally.
They embrace that sense of the unknown. And I think that what Simone does, if she were to label it art, she would quickly be embraced as an artist. But she doesn't need it. She's got success beyond what artists can achieve. And it's fun,
Totally.
We're all just waiting to watch the suits. We're all just been quiet.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't make sense in an edit.
She's not even looking.
Oh,
She's so scared. Look at her.
She's got things to do. Oh, delicious.
well, look, I guess here's a point. Here's a point to discuss is that this is about the human interface with the robot, with the machine.
Yeah,
right?
totes, and some of those misfires.
Yeah, that's right. But it's also like technology by itself is often very cold and removed of the human component. And so that all people that can find a way to bring the technology and a sense of technology to the bit that we understand as being human and mash it together. Like all the science fiction writing that we celebrate, Asimov, Philip K. Dick, and you mentioned William Gibson, who's also fantastic, talks about what is the future interface between the robots and the humans. And we don't know yet because it's not here, but that's what's fascinating. And this stuff is what leads people towards it.
But sometimes that naivety, is where there's real magic in, human meets robot, and how does that?
Yeah, we want to bring these conversations because what gives Simona a great, huge audience. Like you can show this to kids, and they're like, "Yeah, I don't want my robot to do that. I'm going to make my robot do this."
Totally.
Whereas if you just say to a kid, "You should talk about robots," they're like, "I don't care. I want something else." But it's a great invitation for people from whatever background to talk about stuff.
Totally.
So I wanted to go on a bit more of a deep dive and go down memory lane.
Yeah. Can we do like Shimmer?
Glitter falls from the ceiling.
So I remember meeting you. We did a group exhibition in Adelaide for the Adelaide Fringe Festival. You invited me down. I think it must have been 1999.
Yeah, I think we'd met prior to that, I reckon.
Yep.
A gentleman called David Broker had invited me to Brisbane to show at the IMA.
Yes. So
which was 97 perhaps.
Yeah, right, maybe a few years earlier. So in my recollection, you were the first person I had seen who had ever made a stencil or had made a body of work using stencils. So this is interesting. Well, it was for a lot of people back then. But it's interesting how you've now come full circle with using processes that are quite out there and new and not used.
Well, I would argue a parallel. I would present a parallel, which is that I always was attracted to stencils because they are a very DIY process. So you get a bit of cardboard that's usually in your bin, you get a Stanley knife that's on hand, and you cut something out, boom, shank it, you're ready to go and paint the town red or black or whatever. And I think that whilst what I'm doing now probably looks a little bit more complicated, actually it's still very DIY. This is stuff that you get from your local Bunnings, from your JCar shop, from whatever. It's about the things that are...
But you're also distancing yourself from that idea of traditional art making where like a machine is making it. In that, here's an object, you do this arm gesture with paint, and it's like whatever is comes out is that thing.
That's right. I guess I've maybe if I run the analogy backwards is that with stencils, I've never tried to imitate screen printing with stencils. I've always embraced the fuzz. I've been about let's try and create an image with a stencil, if that's your process, that shows the process.
Well, I think that's interesting in your works that you did embrace the whole stencil movement there for a while, but you soon, what it seems to me, became less interested and found things like this more exciting.
Yeah.
How important for you is it to keep changing your work and to try and keep fresh?
Well, I think I don't chase that as a pursuit for the sake of freshness. Only that I have a short attention span that many of us have.
Yep.
Perhaps described as radical curiosity. I'm curious about things all the time, and so that I also use my practice as a way to explore and find out. So that if there's stuff that I don't know about, it's like I've got to try and dream up some art project which I can label as art in order to find out about this stuff. Or maybe it's like I'm curious about this stuff and maybe I can get away with calling it art, so I'm going to try and do this thing. But also, I'll find a rhythm to get into. So I did make lots of stuff that was related to public space, and I still do that, but stuff that was stencil driven for a long time. Until I got to the point where it's like, okay, I've realised all of the outcomes I feel that I can for the time being, or I've sort of fulfilled my curiosity for the time being, and now I need to find something else.
And so how do you feel about more of that traditional world now, especially with street art or stenciling? You seem to have really moved forward into a different realm now.
It's
More
curious.
academic, perhaps.
Maybe. I mean, I guess like I came to stenciling because when I was at art school, I found that I felt uncomfortable going into gallery spaces. I felt like that wasn't my space. So I looked to public space and embraced that for a long time. And sort of that was also to reject gallery spaces as I understood them. But after doing that for a long time, I came to see the things that I could do in a gallery space that I cannot do in public space. So I guess what has also happened for me is that I'm regularly flipping backwards and forwards. And that now, for example, I have lots of projects which are about these sort of pseudo-tech things, mega DIY brain farts, which are sometimes outside, but regularly invite audiences to be part of the process and see stuff. So I'm trying to always explore this invitation for people to see process, to try and break down those inhibitions that people feel in the gallery. I don't want people to feel uncomfortable in the gallery space. So sometimes that means I take stuff outside or try and do things like this project where it's inviting people to come and see the work we made, which is not often what artists do.
Because we also did the Primavera
Yeah.
at the Museum of Contemporary Art in 2003.
Yeah, about that time.
I think that was exciting for us at the time, feeling as if we were these young Australian artists.
You love feeling like a
holding the flag.
superstar, Frosty.
Of course. So did you.
We all do.
Yeah, but that was such a fun and exciting assertion that we were doing something right.
Yeah.
Do
Do you still feel like you're doing the right thing?
well, I don't think anyone would allow what we did again now.
No.
Perhaps like now maybe things are a little bit more dry, more academic than what you were presenting, for example, which was maybe a stencil based thing, and we had this sort of pop art thing. I don't think pop art and street art really would have its own place in current Primavera being young artists under 35, which happens every year.
Yeah, maybe I guess there's just it's a big chat, man. It's like the art world was a smaller cloud at that point.
True.
Now 20 years later, almost 15 years later, let's say, there has been the whole big street art movement occur and then break off and make its own end of the art world, and it does stuff over here, and then we have what people are starting to say is just academic art, which is moving over here. When at one point, when everything was smaller, they were just moving. They were concurrent and cross-pollinating each other more often because it was a denser, smaller scene. But I think that we have to celebrate the fact that within Australia, there has been enough growth creatively that both those things can have their own space
Definitely.
now.
And the internet as well.
And the internet and
Bicycles.
everyone loves bikes. More people on bikes, that's what I say.
Welcome, James Dodd, to the Lightning Round Hot Seat Challenge, where I'm going to ask you a series of really cool questions. Name your favorite robot character from TV, cartoons, or movies.
K9 from Doctor Who, the dog.
Who is the tallest person you've ever met?
I met a guy today, Rolly, who is quite tall. I don't meet that many tall people.
What's the most underrated kitchen appliance?
Oh, the spatula, definitely.
If you were a pirate, where would you bury your treasure? What thing in your art studio could you not live without?
Pencil.
What's your favorite color combination?
Ooh, well that varies from day to day. Today it is yellow and pink and purple.
Yesterday?
Orange and blue and black.
Who would win in a fight, George Jetson or Fred Flintstone?
Fred, for sure. Yeah, he had more power.
What about George has more technology?
Yeah, but he doesn't know what he's doing.
Name 3 types of cheese.
Gorgonzola, cheddar, and my favourite, baby bocconcini.
What's the best thing about Adelaide?
The lifestyle, slow and cruisy, and the fact that people don't take bike lights.
Worst thing about Adelaide?
It's a long way from Melbourne.
What was your worst piercing?
I used to have a nipple piercing, and it was infected for like months and months, forever, and then it would have like a recurring crust.
Like a pizza tonight.
Yeah, but like stuffed crust.
What's your favourite painting of mine?
Well, I didn't want to say regenerating Bambi, but there she is. Self-generating. What is she?
Self-regenerating.
Self-regenerating.
What is the coolest bicycle ever?
The coolest ever. Well, the coolest ever would have to be a BMX of some kind, I would say, and a chrome BMX. And there were these ones that they were chrome BMX, and they had a little bit of suspension in the frame, and they had these magnesium wheels. They're a bit like the DeLorean of BMXs. Amazing.
What will you be doing in 5 years?
Whew, hopefully not working as hard as I'm working now.
What will you be doing in 5 minutes?
Having a rest. Not working as hard as I am now.
Nice. Hey James, thanks so much for coming down. It's been really cool.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invitation, Frosty.
It's been awesome seeing you again. Just to cover, you've got your show Kludger.
Yep.
You've got a residency from the 27th of June till the 11th of July at
Yep.
Backwoods Gallery.
Yes.
And the exhibition opens...
Friday the 12th of July. Please come down.
Ooh.
Please come down.
We'll be there with robot hands on.
Awesome. Robot high fives.
Yeah.
So as is customary, we are going to do a segment which we do every week called Frost World Problems,
Mm-hmm.
where we outline our problems that are frost orientated. Nixie, what's your Frost World problem?
My frost world problem for this week is shaking the sickness. I've had a lingering sickness for about a month. I got a cold in Yosemite National Park in America, and it's a nasty beast. So I've been trying to do the little shake off, get rid
I
of
hope you
it.
feel better soon.
Thank you very much.
Frosk.
My frost world problem is thinking of a frost world problem every bloody week. Yeah.
So currently I'm thinking my Frost World problems is, after listening to the deep fakes, is how I can come up with a deep frost.
Oh.
So I can put my face over the top of people. Or maybe...
I thought you maybe get
Mike
to
Tyson
some
on your
deep
face.
fake prints online.
Ooh.
What
How
if
does
you
that
put
work?
Mike Tyson on your face?
Oh, we haven't seen the Mike Tyson.
Should we have a look at that?
Let's have a look at Mike Tyson. I saw this during the week.
Oh, hey.
Does this sound?
Reading the good news on the newspaper page. Love and tradition.
Oh, it's prior to his tattoo.
Oh.
It's a young Mike Tyson.
Well, they took the tattoo off. Oh my god.
Damn.
Inside these gentle walls. Cause all I see is a tower of dreams.
Tell me what you just...
That's a bit 18, isn't it?
Yeah, Justin Eccles, you don't know?
I can't believe they put a monkey in there. That
Dr.
is
Bacon.
searing.
Crazed.
And so what might your Frost World problem be, Mr. Buzz?
I got my fancy bike light stolen off my bike on Smith Street.
What?
Only because, you know, I live in little old Adelaide, and actually, to tell the truth, I'm rarely out at night time. But I didn't take it off of the handlebars at night, and only today I was discovered that my nice bike light has been borrowed.
How fancy was it?
Oh, fancy enough to wish it hadn't been borrowed.
Well, if I see it, I'll let you know.
Return to Backwoods. Go.
Alright, thanks guys.
Yoo-hoo!
Oh, yeah.
Jack!
Hey!